This is Justin Westmoreland, and you're listening to the Fully Alive podcast, where we integrate physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual relational health so that we can become a fully alive community together. Hello, Justin Westmoreland again. This is episode 2 of the Fully Alive podcast. I can't believe it, Steve. We made it to 2. We are rolling now. Number 2. I'm wearing the same thing as I was last week because we're filming this the same day, actually, because we had a mishap on the first filming. But that's okay. We might be able to edit it out and it might be able to look fresh. So if you're watching, that's what's going on here. If you're not watching and listening, you're not going to notice this at all. But that's fine. So how do we get here? What's going on? Well, I'm Justin Westmoreland. I am a certified personal trainer, but before that, I've been an ordained minister in the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. And so we are in Norman, Oklahoma. That's where we live, planting a church here in town in the middle of Norman. And also, I'm training clients at a gym locally called Downtown Fitness, and I personally work out at Gold's Gym. So shout out to those guys. We're thankful for all the good work the gyms do here and all the good work the churches are doing here. Actually, we're sitting in the First Baptist Church building right here in Norman, Oklahoma. We're thankful for them letting us use their facilities while we are planting this church. So that's exciting. Okay, so let's get to it. Today's episode is going to work like this. If you didn't listen to the first one, go back and listen to it. It'll be linked below, and it gives us an overview of Fully Alive, what that concept is. We're made to live fully alive, worshiping the living one. We're built for that. So we want to create a community that worships God through our physical, mental, and emotional health, our spiritual health, and our relational health. We want to bring those things together and not view those as disconnected elements of our lives, but fully integrated ways in which we glorify God. The summary of the law is that we are to love God with all of our mind, body, soul, and strength. All that we are, all components, and love our neighbors ourselves. So these things are covered all in that. And that's the law. That's what we're made to do. That's our design. Okay, so thinking about it today, our episode's going to be a very food-heavy episode. It's a eating as fuel, eating as medicine, eating as God's design for us. God made our bodies. He made food to be good. And so we want to think about that in light of how God's made us. So thinking through what we are, where we are now, we have I would say as Western culture or Americans, we have a terrible relationship with food. Food is an absolute disaster for us a lot of times. So thinking about where we are health-wise, American Health Studies, I've got a few facts I'll shoot at you first, is that 735,000 Americans annually have heart attacks. And that's directly related to our activity and our food intake. Annually, 1.4 million Americans, that's even more, are diagnosed with diabetes. That's where we are. 2017, the prediction for cases of cancer was 1.6 million cases. And then also, we currently have 154.7 million Americans who are obese or overweight. So the obese category is over 30% body fat of your body, and then overweight is 20% body fat. So if you're between that 20 to 30% body fat range, you're in the overweight category. My journey began back in 2015. As I was thinking about myself, no one ever thought of me as an overweight person, But when I got my body fat checked for the first time, I was at 27% body fat, and over the course of 12 weeks working out with a trainer and getting my food under control, I got down to 16% body fat, and now I'm currently about 9% body fat and 50 pounds lighter. So there is hope for any of us, no matter where you start, to have some positive progression there in as far as your body fat percentage and your body composition and your overall health. So that's good news. Now I gotta start off with a confession. Everyone loves confessions, right? Everyone loves the authenticity and genuineness of what are my mistakes. Well, I feel like what we want to do here is re-examine how we think about everything. And I had to re-examine how I thought about food when I started to go on this journey back in 2015. I had a goal every time I sat down to eat a meal. Every time I purchased a meal, it was I want to get the most amount of food for the least amount of money. Most amount of food for the least amount of money. That was my philosophy of eating. And I realized, hey, that's not going to work. I was essentially the clumps. Have you ever seen Nutty Professor Part 2? It's a very obscure movie. I'm sure you probably haven't. But these guys descend upon a buffet, and they get all the good stuff, and they leave all the vegetables. Like the salad deal was absolutely untouched. That was me. I wanted to get all the best stuff that I liked, the most amount for the least amount of money as possible. So when you think about eating as a buffet, you're going frantic. You're going, straight away. It's not a relaxed experience because you feel like, oh, that lady's bringing out the mac and cheese. I need mac and cheese, so I got to eat fast so I can get over there and get some of that before someone else takes it. The way you eat and how you're emotionally feeling with your eating and what your philosophy of it is really going to determine how you're going to do with eating. So that's my first principle today, and my first confession is I ate like somebody who just wants to get the most amount of food possible for the most or the least amount of money. I was like a conehead. If you've ever seen coneheads, the older people in the audience, the coneheads had a quote where they're saying, we want to consume mass quantities. They even call it eating. They just call it consume mass quantities. And that was me, consume mass quantities. Eating something we feel tempted by. In fact, in our sermon that we just recently heard in our church, Jesus actually was led into the wilderness, and the first temptation he had to undergo as our representative was a food challenge. So he had been, the will for him was he was starved for 40 days, and the devil comes to Jesus and says, hey, you're the Son of God. Why don't you just take that stone and turn it into bread and be satisfied? And Jesus says, no, man does not live on bread alone, but upon every word that comes from the mouth of God. And he quotes Deuteronomy to the devil and does not give in to the temptation. And that's not a design for each of us. This is not principles for you to take and learn how to overcome temptation. This is God as a representative for you and for me, being faithful and grateful and thankful for God in the midst of a challenge, whereas everyone else in history had fallen and failed in that situation. And so what God does is he sends Jesus to us to be our representative and our Savior. And so no matter where you've messed up in eating, like myself, we have a Savior. We have one who's gone and done faithfully and done it. So thinking through some of the physical things about food that are going to challenge us, and what are some things you need to be thinking about if you're going to deal with food rightly. First of all, you got to ask, are you even tasting your food when you eat it? This is something I had to ask myself. Am I tasting my food? Am I slowing down enough to really taste it and enjoy it? Because food is something given from God. It's by design that we are to take what God's given us and to enjoy it. So sometimes you can really get a lot of life out of what you're doing through eating by slowing down and tasting it, chewing your food, and not just throwing another bite in your mouth before you've actually chewed it sufficiently. Let all your taste buds taste it and enjoy it. That's one thing. One little tip for you on the physical angle of this, of being healthy eating wise. One thing you might not realize is your physical posture can really be a challenge for you enjoying food and using food rightly and being healthy. Now think about this. We are in our culture prone to what we call nerd neck, where we have a neck that's facing forward, just pointing forward, and so we have essentially really bad posture due to life and habits that we engage in. Thinking about, you might be gaming 3 hours a day, you might be playing on your computer and working on your computer 8 hours a day, and so you're going to be like forward facing. You're not going to be training your back muscles as much, and so you're going to be leaning forward simply by life, and so your posture is going to be forward. And so if you're leaning forward, actually the studies show that you're not going to get the food on your taste buds fully and really enjoy it. That's remarkable, isn't it? That your posture has something to do with how you're going to actually experience and enjoy food. If your posture is according to its design as much as you can be. Now, no one's posture is perfect, but the more upright you are, you're going to enjoy your food better. Also, if you're eating while and not sitting up and bringing the food to your mouth, but going down to the food, or even lying down or compressed, like while you are slouched over and munching on potato chips while you're eating or playing your video games or whatever you're doing, or you could be reading a book, whatever it is you're doing. But if you're just, in a poor position, your intestines and your stomach are going to be compressed as well, because we've got gravity, going on us all the time and acting on us. And so if we're going to see, we're going to be eating, we're going to see, we ought to be aware that our digestion is not going to go right. So all the nutrients you're going to be putting into your body are not going to be optimally used, because your organs are going to be compressed, your intestines, your stomach. So it starts, digestion of course starts right here as you chew the food. It goes on down all the way through. And if you're going to be compressing that due to poor posture, there is consequences from that. So you see, even when you're talking about eating, your physical health and well-being is going to have something to play with that. That's what we talk about in life. Everything goes together. We're made to worship and serve God according to His design. And when we do that, ultimately things are going to go better. So Jesus wants He wants you to even examine those things. How do you think about your physical body? Are you essentially a Gnostic? I was a Gnostic. Gnosticism was this non-Christian, alternative spirituality that really believed that what mattered was the spirit and not the body. So the body, the implications of that meant that, hey, if you don't believe the body is important, you can do whatever you want with the body. So you can live any way you want with your body. Or another angle of that is really this sort of beating up your body, like you're really being hard on your body, disciplining it really severely because it was bad and the spirit was good. So those two ways of actually polar opposite applications of the same principle is that the spirit's good and the body's bad. Christianity does not believe that the spirit's good and the body's bad. That we believe that we are image bearers of God and our bodies are important. He made them and they're good. So the body's good, it's made by God. Food's good, it's made by God. So the primary question, minute by minute, is not how much I can get out of food, but how I can glorify God with the food that He's given me. How can I optimize my worship of Him by using food, by using my body? So that's the goal here. We want to discover, delight, enjoy, and cultivate amazing tastes from this world. As you're sitting down to eat your next meal, maybe you're in your car, wherever you are, listen to this. I want you to take a moment and just breathe deeply. Take 5 big breaths, and let those breaths come in and then breathe out. And those deep breaths are really going to help you to connect to enjoying the food you're going to eat, and they're going to really get you ready to digest, so you're not in a stress position. So much of us are always stressed out. We're going to eat to make ourselves feel better. So whether or not, there's 2 ways we can do that. You can if you had a bad day, so you got to wheel in and get some fried chicken, or a Big Mac or something like that, something quick, and it's going to make you feel good because of the actual nutrition in it. That's one way you can treat eating. Or you'd be like, well, I feel really bad about myself, and so I'm going to go and get a smoothie or a salad and try to make myself feel better that way. And that's really not going to help you a ton either. Just kind of this emotional roller coaster of eating. A better way to think of eating is having a plan. And we're going to go into that in just a moment when we talk about the fourth quarter of the mental section of how this all works out. But getting a plan that makes sense and not be emotionally and reactively eating. One more thing before we get on to the next quarter here, as we're talking about the physical component of eating, is that, look, whole foods versus non-whole foods matter. Okay, I think those things do matter. So thinking about whole foods. So eating an apple better than eating a processed apple crisp chip or something like that. And let me explain why. Just one simple fact about that is processed foods are going to be pre-digested. And so when you put those things in your body, they're going to have maybe the same amount of calories, but they're actually going to be easier to digest, so your metabolism is not going to be firing, and that's going to actually, if you've got weight loss goals, be counterproductive to your weight loss goals. That's just one simple thing. A whole food is going to take a lot more energy from your body to digest, and that's going to kick up your metabolism a little bit better. So just simple things like that. Eating better food. I don't understand you can't eat the best food all the time, but making decisions day to day on I want to eat better foods versus processed and easy foods with a lot of easy simple chemicals in there to help you digest them. More natural whole foods is something I actually do recommend. I think it's a good deal. My wife Meredith just actually started doing the Whole 30, or just completed the Whole 30, and Every time she does it, she feels great. So I'm not a diets guy. I think there's a ton of diets out there, and you get overloaded with fads, and somebody's figure out the next big thing as far as diets. But I don't want to be a diet guy. I want to be a nutrition guy and really I guess push forward mindful or intuitive eating, eating that makes sense with your body and your goals and where you want to be. So one diet's not right for everybody. I don't even like diets because I think they're unsustainable. So as far as the question of what kind of diet you need, you don't need a diet, you need nutrition. Diet's focused on you, but nutrition is focusing on God's design for the food. And we can, as we learn more about the foods that are optimal for us and the design that God's given for us, we can use those foods to His glory. So thinking through those issues, maybe something you haven't thought about. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. If you've got more questions on the physical active eating and how that works and how you can be healthier that way, send us some comments on that and we'll talk about it more. So that's the physical quarter. All right, so thinking about eating relationally, how does eating deal with relational stuff? Well, there's a certain character that Mike Myers did a while back. He says, I eat when I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. You know, this is him. And I think that those of you who know that character, he's a hilarious guy, but eating is inherently related to the rest of our life. It's inherently social. How many of you have ever felt a measure of shame as you're chewing down your fast food in your car? Have you ever felt a measure of loneliness as you're in the middle school cafeteria or even in a restaurant surrounded by people and you know no one and you're not able to enjoy that meal with someone? Somehow in the way we're designed, and I think it's because we're made in the image of God, we bring eating, that very thing that we do, as an opportunity to share life with other people. So when you're doing eating, this is a profound opportunity to share life with someone else and to both receive and give life to someone else. So eating is profoundly relational. It gives us good feels. It gives us bad feels. What are we doing with our eating? We feel while we're eating. Okay, and that's what we're eating. It's who we're eating with. This is important. So we want to use that as good knowledge to work according to the design God's made for us. So think about who God is. Just a basic description of who God is. God is not just this concept we made up to feel better about ourselves. God defines who God is because God really is who He is. And so not all gods are equal. You know, there's false gods, there's a true God. The true God, which actually makes the most sense, is the one we can understand the least, and that's the Trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This God exists eternally. He's one God, but He's also three persons. This is remarkable, and it's a mystery we can't fully understand. It's 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. That doesn't make sense. And it's not, 1/3 + 1/3 + 1/3 = 1. Each person, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, are all God. Just as much God as the other, but they're not three gods. Okay, so that's confusing as all get out, but it makes sense. Think about the way we deal with food. All right? How do we deal with food? Well, we're relational. Why are we so relational? Because we're in the image of God. Relationship is something that is basic to Him. He's never known a moment in creation or in His eternal existence where He didn't have the other right there. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They've always been giving in love to one another, serving, and participation together. This is basic to who God is. It's basic to everyone that we're living in this world with, is that we are made to be in connection and relationship with others. So a meal, therefore, is a profound opportunity to live according to our design and start to be friends with someone else. That is it. So thinking about that, that's why the Christian worldview is better than any other worldview out there, because our worldview makes sense of that we are in the image of God as individuals. We have dignity and respect due to each and every individual because we are in His image, but we're longing for that connection with other people. Only the Christian worldview makes sense of that, and only our worldview makes sense that love is basic to us, because you can't have love if there's just a single lonely being who is God. We have a personal being who is three persons. Love wouldn't make sense if God is just lonely in eternity and then makes the world. Love's always been basic to who God is because he's always known the other. There's never been a moment in existence where he's been alone. Okay, and that's why you feel so sad when you're alone. I feel so sad when we're alone. So here's the deal. Eating is not about feeling good. It's not about feeling accepted. It's not about feeling like an insider. Sharing a meal with others is one of those few cultural moments we still have left where we can look someone in the eye and listen to him or her. We can talk about things that actually matter. So eating is a great tool as a social outing to develop empathy, to share the gospel truths that you love, and to glean and learn so much in relationship over a meal. So the meals that we have every day are precious. If you have a family, if you have a relationship you're in, if you're in a church, spend time with the people in your church, eating meals together. I feel like we never have a moment where we meet where there's not some kind of food involved. I don't know what that is. Christians have always sort of taken food and brought that into what they're doing. So whether it's going to eat together, having food at your religious activities, or anytime you're out in the world, take advantage of being with others. Meet somebody even. I love restaurants where they're so crowded you have to share a table with somebody. So go to the crowded places, you actually have to meet somebody. Relational health is super important, and food is just one more tool that we have in our toolbox to engage in positive relational health and worship God through that way. So that's how it fits with the relational health angle today. All right, so first of all, we've looked at the physical components of eating. No duh, it's physical. 2, it's profoundly relational. And then 3rd, it's spiritual. Eating is spiritual. Okay, so kind of the no duh point here, you've seen this if you've grown up in the South, is people will be in a restaurant and they'll awkwardly bow their heads and close their eyes and pray together. Say grace, right? That's a really important component of our eating as well, because we cultivate thanksgiving. We're not blessing the food. We're not putting some kind of magic blessing on it to where it makes us nutritious. It makes it more nutritious than it is. A Big Mac's still a Big Mac, but whatever we're putting in our body, we're giving thanks because it came through amazing processes. There had to be rain and soil tilled and food got here through all kinds of hard work, and then we had to have the resources to procure this food. So all the things that really went into us getting that food is a profoundly thing. It's a big deal that we can thank God for. The hands that provided it, all the things that needed to happen for me to get to be eating this food, and just the fact that maybe the food you're tasting is a great steak or whatever it is, you could be profoundly thankful for that steak, that glass of wine, whatever it is you're partaking of. That is wonderful. And so thinking through that is one way to be thankful. But a less obvious component to how eating is spiritual is that Romans 12:1 says that in light of God's mercies we live, right? So we're thinking through, in light of everything that's true about God, we're to not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So you're thinking about how when the world eats and it's like we have no awareness of God and His provisions, that ultimately becomes one more exercise in selfishness. But when we eat as a Christian, we are realizing we are we are creatures, we're derived, we have a purpose, we have a bigger thing that we connect to, which is God's kingdom and His designs for us. And so we're realizing that's a profound opportunity to see the lordship of God. He's our sustaining, eternal creator, but without Him, we have nothing. And so it's an opportunity to give Him glory. Eating tells me that I'm derivative, that I'm a creature, that I'm finite, that I'm needy, that I'm desperate, that I'm prone to be in need and wonder, that I'm hungry, that I'm vulnerable. And all these different ways, eating tells me that I need something. And that's ultimately what I need more than food is God. This is the biggest deal. Jesus is the biggest deal in your life, is that God came and took on your flesh. God knew what it was like to be hungry. In fact, Jesus was tempted in a way that if he would have given in to hunger, we would all be dead. We'd all be wrecked right now. Jesus knows exactly what you're going through and your hunger, your neediness, but he's also the one who's able to meet those needs. So eating is a profound opportunity wherever you are to take lessons that you've learned throughout the day and give God glory. It's a chance to realize, hey, we are dependent and we're needy creatures, and we can worship God through the simple act of enjoying the food that he's given us and giving him thanks for it. So I hope that's a helpful way to think through how you and I can take all of life underneath the lordship of Christ, even the meals we eat, and give him glory. Okay, so we've looked at how eating is spiritual, it's physical, it is relational, and now the final component is these things all relate to how we are mentally and emotionally doing. We've talked about how the need to unplug and to breathe deeply as we eat so we can savor our food. But we need to be thinking. So we need to be disconnecting our cell phones, spending the time in eating when we have time to do that. But what you've got to do is you've got to have a plan. So you have to be thoughtful about your eating. So being mindful and not just eating emotionally, but to have a game plan for your eating. So the first mistake we make is we eat too many calories. We just our portion size is way out of whack. We eat too much. And I told you in the beginning, I never really thought about calories. I never thought about the amount of food I was eating. I just want to get the most amount of food for the least amount of money. So if you go to any restaurant, they're going to usually give you more food than you need and foods that you don't need. And then you're going to think about like the environment you're eating the food in too. But a lot of times the environment is pretty frenetic. You can hear the kitchen and all the stuff banging around in there, and people, it's loud. But in a more relaxed, calm environment, that might be a good tip for you is to really be able to be mindful and enjoy your eating in a more comfortable environment. That's why nice restaurants are nice. You can be more comfortable there, enjoy your food. So, but thinking through the calories you're going to consume, one tool that is a foolproof way to gauge your calories is the MyFitnessPal app. You can download it. We'll provide a link to that on the comments or the description of the episode here. The MyFitnessPal app, I've used it. My clients have used it. And when you consistently use the MyFitnessPal, you're going to have data of what you're eating. You can enter into everything that you're eating into the app and get a real good approximation of what calories you're consuming. And so the app itself will ask you for some information, what your sex is, what your weight is currently, what your goal is. I typically will tell people to put you're going to lose a pound a week or a half pound a week, something like that. So it's going to give you a challenge goal of calories to meet. So that'll give you a good baseline of where you need to be. So you're maybe eating too many calories, but if you put that in there, you put all your food into it. It's easy to log it because this app is so smart that it'll find almost anything that you put in there, and you can always approximate it if you can't find it. So getting your calorie goal daily is a helpful thing. I also like to log my weight every morning in the app. So I will get up and weigh myself same time every morning, wearing the same thing, same conditions. So I have a real good data of where or log of data of where my weight has been over the last 3 or 4 years. It's wonderful, and this app will just keep on going. So you'll have all that data for you of what you've eaten and what you've weighed. So logging those things is great. You might want to also think about logging your macronutrients. So I'm talking proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. And so thinking about what you're eating, that's going to show you exactly where your breakdown. The app will break that down for you of where your calories are distributed. Is it protein, fat, or carbs? So I typically prefer to eat more protein. More protein's harder on your metabolism to digest. So it gets your metabolism up. That's good for you. So proteins versus fats or carbs are gonna. If you go low fat diet, you're gonna actually get more bang for your buck because there's more calories in a gram of fat versus calories caused by carbohydrates or protein. So you can actually eat, I feel fuller or like I've had more to eat and I get more bang for my buck eating a lower fat content per day versus more fat. So that's just a helpful thing. That's why low fat diets, people recommend that. For weight loss, low fat's going to give you more food to eat and to feel fuller. Talking about when you're going to eat, there's no magic bullet for when to eat. You just need to get your calories in that day. I don't think that a certain amount of time you need to restrict yourself, or just eat in a way that makes sense. You're going to need energy, so eat to make sense, and also you're going to want to have workout meals that are when you work out, when you train, workouts that coincide with your eating. So I'd like to eat after my workouts versus before, maybe 30 minutes an hour after. So those are some real, I think, practical tips for eating. So what if you're listening and you're thinking, hey, I don't need to lose weight, I just want to maintain, or I want to build muscle, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, eat in a way that makes sense for you. So what I was talking about earlier, I was thinking, hey, you might want to cut down fats if you're trying to get your calories down. But what most of us are doing, no matter where we are, if we're trying to build muscle, trying to lose weight, we need to add more protein to our diets. I think that the fats and the carbs can be variable, but you got to add more protein. We're not eating enough protein, so getting the protein through chicken, through turkey, through fish, or even through hamburgers, just whatever it is you can do to get more protein in your diet, that can make it work. And so, and also not just cutting out all the things you like. Find the things you like to eat and incorporate those into your calorie goals. If your calorie goal is to maintain a certain weight, the app will give you that. If your calorie goal is to actually gain weight, gain muscle, gain weight, then your calorie goal will go with that. But use it as sort of a system to work in what you like. I would no matter where you are, recommend having a calorie goal and seeking to put all the things you like in that. Not cutting things out that you really love. If you like pizza, make the pizza work. If you like cheesecake, make the cheesecake work. Figure out what it is that you're gonna enjoy. And I don't recommend cheat meals either. I say just kind of have a regular system. I typically eat a pretty boring diet. I love it, but it's boring because it's basically the same every day. I start out with a smoothie every single morning almost, if I can. And I get that same deal every day, and I eat pretty much the same things every day for snacks and whatnot, so I can keep a real good log of where I am, and make it something you enjoy. So that's what I would say to the person who doesn't want to lose weight. Just enjoy your food. You're in a good place, but get some training involved there. And so I would take your protein up and bring it alongside of your workout. Now, you're not going to just totally fall apart if you don't eat within 30 minutes to an hour after you worked out. But studies show that that's optimal. But you're probably going to be fine if you're not if you're 31 minutes in and you've missed that 30-minute window, or if you're 61 minutes in, you're probably going to be fine. But the body does have its design, and that's, I would say, 30 minutes afterwards. You want to get some protein in your body after training, if you're training for sports or just developing your body anyway. So I'd say you want to get used to mindful eating, understanding that your eating is not just about your goals for you or what you're trying to serve, but your mindful eating ought to be with a mind towards, how can I use this to worship God more? This is a profound paradigm shift for us, is that our food is given, it's good, our bodies are good, and they're useful for worshiping God. They're useful for serving others. They're to give life. So whether it's what we're putting into our bodies, who we're eating with, spending time with others through the avenue of a meal, whether it's thinking through what's our posture when we're eating, what's the optimal way to eat. There's a lot of things we can think through, and I hope this has been helpful for you today on the podcast, and keep tuning in for more content. If you like this, go ahead and click down below, like it, subscribe, comment below. That would really help us out. And we're thankful for you joining us again. Have a wonderful day. And remember that we are made to live, fully alive, and built to worship the living one. This is Justin Westmoreland. Thank you for listening.